Tonight, despite the changing season, the Tent City protest continues.
It was kind of cold when it came to around 2 o'clock in the morning. My clothes were wet because it rained, and this went into snow, and then it got pretty cold, yes.
The weather's getting colder. I'll tell you how Tent City protesters dealt with last night's storm coming up on Here and Now.
Police are searching for the driver of a car who crashed into this Carbonear funeral home.
If I don't have a sidewalk, it's all over.
People with disabilities say the province is changing for the worse by creating even more barriers.
This is CBC Here and Now.
Good evening and welcome to Here and Now. Premier Andrew Furey is putting together what he calls a task force to help people living in a homeless tent encampment in St. John's. This after both the province and the city refused to provide washroom services to the people living in those tents. Some spent the night weathering a tough winter storm. Here and Now's Daryl Roberts reports.
It was a quiet morning at the tent encampment behind Colonial Building. About 15 people spent the night here in one of these tents through a cold winter storm. Today, they're thankful that the snowfall was on the lighter side.
It was kind of cold when it came to around 2 o'clock in the morning. My clothes were wet because it rained, and this went into snow, and then it got pretty cold, yes. It's not easy living. Maybe there should be more done about it. So far, so good for me. I don't know where I'm going to end tomorrow.
St. Gelais said he spent time in shelters, but they're only a temporary solution.
I've been here for the last 3 nights. I came from another shelter, and since there's no space left available here in St. John's for housing, I put in a shelter call around 8, and the answer was that I had no place to live.
A group of volunteers are helping out, bringing food, clothes, and other necessities. They're calling themselves Tent City for Change.
Resident protesters are asking for safe, affordable, accessible housing for all. And I think the community is showing up because, we know, as most of us are renters, that housing for all is more to the benefit of everyone than just these folks here.
And on top of the cold weather, yesterday the City of St. John's announced it was closing access to the bathrooms in Vanderman Park indefinitely. But Huguet says protesters aren't going anywhere.
I think they're figuring things out, trying to be as polite and respectful of the fact that this is a public space. But there's bathrooms around the city, porta potties are readily available. We're going to find a solution, and we'll just make something happen.
All of this after both the City of St. John's and the provincial government refused to provide alternative washrooms for the people there. Then, this afternoon, at a press conference flanked by 13 people, Premier Andrew Furey said they're forming a task force of community groups and government officials.
With the evolving discourse over the last 24 hours or so, I thought it was appropriate to get every stakeholder together in the same room to ensure that there was alignment of desire, alignment of execution, and alignment of operations.
The Minister of Transportation and Infrastructure says government workers visit the site daily.
So we are on the ground there as we speak to make sure that we are getting the information and providing advice. One of the obstacles that we're seeing is that some people are reticent to move for a bunch of reasons. Example, if I move, what's going to happen to my tent? We are going to make sure that their tent will be secured if they need to go into a shelter or other supportive housing. So very basic thing.
The leader of the opposition says the task force is a good idea, but should have been done earlier.
It's a reaction. You can see from the number of people, the ministers, the cabinet ministers that were here today standing behind the Premier.
Meanwhile, people living in Tent City are still there, and even though the weather is getting colder, they won't be leaving anytime soon. Daryl Roberts, CBC News, St. John's.
The president of Nunavut says his government is ready to meet with the province to deal with the housing issues on Labrador's north coast. Johannes Lamp made those remarks this week in Ottawa after the country's housing advocate found all levels of government have failed to uphold the Inuits' right to housing. But days later, the provincial minister in charge won't talk publicly about those findings. Ariana Kelland has the latest.
At this news conference, the country's housing advocate said something Inuit have known for decades. Provincial and federal government neglect is to blame for a critical housing crisis. So what now?
As North government meet government to government with the province of Newfoundland and Labrador, but it is quite challenging and more certainly on issues that are of importance to Labrador Inuit.
Challenging but necessary. The Nunavut leader says he's ready and willing to talk with the province about how to fix long-standing issues like overcrowding, mold, homelessness, and more. National housing advocate Marie-Josée Houle wants both the province and federal government to fund more, fix more, and build more.
Yeah, so it's a little shocking. I mean, certainly when you listen to the deplorable conditions that Indigenous people are dealing with on the North Coast and all over Labrador, really. I think what bothers me the most is how long this has gone on.
Parrott says the Liberal government needs to act fast while acknowledging that past governments, including PC administrations, bear some responsibility as well.
There's a huge issue, and it doesn't matter who has responsibility. What matters is who's responsible to fix it, and that's this Liberal government, and they haven't done it.
The minister in charge wouldn't speak with CBC about the advocate's findings. A spokesperson said Paul Pike is taking the time to review the report and is committed to addressing the issues. No interview is not good enough, says NDP leader Jim Dinn.
I'm speechless. It's shameful. He is the minister of probably one of the most important, portfolios in this government. He's in this position. I don't know if he's comfortable in it or not. He's on a personal level, he's a decent person. But right now, we need to have this issue addressed.
Meanwhile, the federal housing minister has also not yet responded publicly to the advocate's report. Ariana Kelland, CBC News, St. John's.
Certainly snowy today for parts of the Avalon. We saw some flurries move through for a good chunk of the afternoon, then some peaks of sun as well. The majority of the weather, though, has moved offshore, but we do have an area of low pressure to the north now with a warm front that is going to bring some warming temperatures eventually as we head into tomorrow morning. But if I zoom in to the satellite and radar, we do have lots of flurry activity and light snow on the west coast. The radar, the Holyrood radar, has been in and out all day, but yes, showing some flurries from earlier today. Now, as we head through the night tonight, there's been lots of talk on social media about the potential for some northern lights tonight. These numbers here indicate just how strong the magnetic storm is, and forecasting somewhere between a 5 and a 7 as we head through the night tonight. So best chance of seeing those northern lights will be up across parts of Labrador for tonight, but we may see them for parts of the northern peninsula, maybe even through parts of central, as we see a little bit of some clearing skies tonight. So definitely keep your eye to the sky if you love the northern lights like me. We'll talk about the full forecast when we come back.
Thanks, Ashley. Well, it's still the talk of the town in Carbonear, a series of dangerous driving complaints on Monday. Just have a look at this. Whew. It is 5:30 in the morning. A car speeds onto the parking lot of Slade's Funeral Home on Powell Drive. The inside light is on, and there are at least 2 people inside the black Nissan Altima. After idling for a few seconds and what appears to be a brief struggle over the steering wheel, the driver then steers the car into one of the pillars at the funeral home entrance. And then the vehicle makes a second end run. At the remaining canopy supports, the car is stopped in its tracks by an accessible parking sign secured to a concrete base. The driver then races away back onto Powell Drive. Now, the RCMP found the car in Harbour Grace and have impounded it. They're still working to determine who was behind the wheel. Well, government will be late delivering a new mental health and addiction centre in St. John's, according to politicians and health officials who held an update today. In 2018, the government announced a plan for a new 102-bed replacement for the old Waterford Hospital that was built in 1855. The new facility is now scheduled to open in the spring of 2025, a year later than government had promised. A mental health advocate expects it will be worth the wait, though. Jeff Bourne, one of the founders of the U-Turn Drop-In Centre in Carbonear, says he looks forward to a new stigma-free facility.
So all these things takes time, and I think an extra year is not going to make a difference, right? We need to do it right, and now's the time that we're going to do it, and I'm just happy that that old building is going to be replaced, right? Because for me, I ended up in the health science centre down on the psychiatric ward myself, and one of the tools to use against me when I used to get a little bit hyper, a little bit out of hand, because I was withdrawing from opiates, they say, "No, Jeff, you're going to have to calm down or we're going to send you down to the Waterford." That was their threat against me. So for me, that's probably why I'm speaking out a little bit about the new facility and stuff, that it shouldn't be attached to a bad thing of being a punishment for me just trying to get well.
A group representing persons with disabilities says the province is moving in the wrong direction and that accessibility laws have been changed for the worse. The result? They're now refusing to take part in an upcoming announcement with politicians. Here in Now's Heather Gillis reports.
Nearly a quarter of people in the province have a disability, according to the Coalition of Persons with Disabilities. So the group says it was a big deal when the province changed building accessibility laws, but not a step in the right direction. Amendments have changed the definition of a person with a disability. People with mobility, visual or hearing impairments are included, but not sensory disabilities, leaving out people with autism and intellectual disabilities.
To revise a definition of disability that removes a portion of our population is simply regressive and inexcusably inappropriate.
Another issue, accessibility laws don't apply to buildings constructed before 1982, and Reid says too many public buildings in the province are inaccessible, like courthouses and even the House of Assembly. Laws to change accessibility, she says, have been weakened.
So that's discrimination, but it makes me feel as less than a citizen.
That erects a huge barrier. And surely in the people's house that this is happening, that's not good enough.
Government says an advisory board recommended the changes, but first-hand experiences from the community weren't listened to, says Reid.
You know, this Bill 52, the amendments with this act this fall, were really the straw that broke my back. I will not tolerate more.
And it's why the coalition won't sign a proclamation with government recognizing the International Day of Persons with Disabilities on December 3rd. She says people with disabilities are left feeling disrespected. Advocate Anne Malone agrees. She's visually impaired and gets around with the help from guide dog Purdy.
This work is what gives my life purpose, but I need to be able to get out in the world to participate in it. If I don't have a sidewalk, it's all over. So, I mean, we're not fighting for the moon, I always say, we're fighting for the ground under our feet.
The Coalition of Persons with Disabilities would like to see the government create an independent office advocating for people who have disabilities. They say the seniors advocate and the possibility of an advocate for people with complex needs won't cut it.
We have been expecting this disability advocacy position to be created for some time. It's not yet been realized. Again, it was in 2 mandate letters to our, from the Premier to the Minister responsible.
In a statement, Digital Government and Service NL Minister Sarah Studley says government appreciates the concerns of the coalition, but that changes are in line with other provinces, and she calls it a positive step forward. Heather Gillis, CBC News, St. John's.
Well, a small beekeeping business in Happy Valley Goose Bay is expanding to help combat the rising cost of food. In addition to raising bees and chickens, they're adding turkeys to their flock.
Right now, a lot of families, we're not the only ones, but we're noticing the price of food is going up, but also that accessibility and being able to get birds in and whatnot is just very limiting. So why not have a couple of our own that we can breed out? And of course, selecting a natural heritage breed as opposed to a commercial breed, they will breed on their own. So if you're able to get them through and let them be able to have their own babies, then you're able to continue to produce food for yourself and your family.
Well, Black Spruce Company is a small woman-owned business. In addition to birds and bees, they also sell locally made items like candles, soaps, and shampoos. And you may notice that Cleary is being interviewed by someone wearing a giant turkey costume. Well, that's the host of CBC Radio's Labrador Morning. We'll explain exactly why Rivu Rashid is in that costume. That's coming up in about 10 minutes on Here and Now.
Well, we have some snow and rain on the way. Not too much, but some areas may see a dusting. We'll get into all the details when I come back.
season of giving, a season of kindness. Let's make the season kind for those in need. CBC is helping support local food banks this holiday season. Visit cbc.ca/bekind to find out how you can help.
Hi everybody, I'm Jane Adey, host of Land and Sea. We have a brand new show coming up for you on Sunday, and you should get your ugly sticks ready because this one is all about mummering. This is the 15th year for the annual Mummers Festival, and we wanted to find out how it all came together and what makes the 2-week festival so popular. Ryan Davis is one of the founders of the festival. He's a folklorist who has a passion for parties, and he recalls the feelings he had when they launched the festival that very first year.
It took off, yeah. I remember the first parade, it was kind of like being at your birthday party and just hoping someone would show up. And sure enough, like maybe 300 people or so showed up in disguise, ready to mummer. I remember having to take a little breather in a bathroom because I was so like delighted and semi-overwhelmed by how many people had showed up for this thing. And they really went for it. Like there were people with the accordions, the ugly sticks. And so after that, we knew that this was something that people really wanted to engage in.
And that was 15 years ago, and the Mummers Festival is still going strong. We'll take you inside the festivities, and you might learn a thing or two about the history of mummering in this province. So tune in for a show we've called A Fabulously Folksy Festival. You'll see it on Sunday at 11:30. That's 11 o'clock in most of Labrador. And if you happen to miss it on Sunday, you can always see it on Monday right after Here and Now. We'll see you on Sunday.
Welcome back, Ashley. Nice to see you. You missed the bit of a storm that we got yesterday, but some flurries today.
Yeah, lots of flurries out there. I think at some points it was actually more snowy today, especially here in the metro area, than it was for a good chunk of yesterday, until it moved in later in the evening. But yeah, temperatures this afternoon hovering around the 0-degree mark, or maybe a degree or two above or below. For the most part, right across the island, up across Labrador, a bit cooler today. You topped out at about -8 in Happy Valley Goose Bay this afternoon. You take a look at your temperatures right now, and they have dropped up across the Big Land down to the minus double digits, -10 in Happy Valley Goose Bay. Feels more like -17 with that wind chill. And the temperatures across the island are going to drop as we head through the night tonight, sitting around -2 at the moment, feeling more like -5 in St. John's. But for St. Anthony's, -7 feels more like -13. So we do have some colder air, certainly on the way over the next couple of hours. If we take a look at the satellite and radar, cloud cover pretty much dominating the weather picture today across the island anyways. Lots of flurry activity on the west coast, those onshore flurries, and we saw some scattered flurries across the Avalon today as well. Now the radar, especially the Holyrood radar, has been in and out. It's been offline really since Monday, just in time for the storm, but it should be back online as we head through the day tomorrow. It looks like they were testing some of that this afternoon. There's a better picture of what's happening on the west coast at the moment. Some of these flurries are fairly heavy and will continue pretty much as we head through the night tonight. The winds will shift a little bit, which should pull them offshore. More of a southerly flow, but still looking at that risk of some showers or flurries, especially for the southwestern portion of the province. We may see some clearing skies as well. So if you are planning on heading out, you may even be able to see the northern lights, as I mentioned a little bit earlier in the show. But up across Labrador, you're generally looking at some flurry activity, especially in the west, but some clear periods there as well for tonight. Temperatures will be the coldest in the west, where you'll hover around -12 tonight. The temperatures, in fact, should start to warm up across Labrador, and this will be where we bottom out across the island, anywhere from about -3 to -7 over the next couple of hours. But as we head towards the morning hours, these temperatures will be a little bit warmer than that, more like the -2 to -3 degree range by the time we head out the door tomorrow morning. And you're looking at about 2 degrees on the plus side of the mercury for Port aux Basques, hence that chance of some flurries or some showers. As we head into tomorrow morning, the first half of the day for the eastern portion of the island actually looks pretty nice with some sunshine. Clouds will generally be on the increase, though, as the day goes on. We've got some periods of snow developing for central and southeastern portion of Labrador. Same thing for the northern peninsula into the afternoon. And then we will see some showers or flurries work their way from the west coast late in the afternoon and then head across the island through the night tomorrow. Higher elevations looks like you're going to pick up some snow with that. So through the overnight, some rain for eastern Newfoundland, including the metro area as we get into Saturday morning. As far as snowfall amounts go, the highest look like they should fall in southeastern Labrador, where you'll see somewhere between 5 to 10 centimeters by the time we get into Saturday morning. Higher elevations, like I said, on the west coast may pick that up as well. Otherwise, we're looking at a trace, maybe 2 centimeters of snow. But with the temperatures tomorrow, they should eat into some of the snow that fell, especially through central. We're talking about 3 to 5 or even 6 degrees, depending on how much sun we see. It may eat into a lot of the snow, but I know about 15 centimeters fell in Gander yesterday. And if you take a look at the winds, overnight we'll see them pick up a little bit, or in the evening I should say, about 30 to 50 kilometers per hour for the most part. And then for Labrador, the southeast, you'll be hovering around 0, maybe even a degree above, so the snow that does fall will be fairly wet. And then for those of you in the west, that will be the coldest temperatures. You'll hover around -10 as your daytime highs with a little bit of sun as the day goes on. So we do have a cool down coming, some much colder air just to the west here. That's going to move in up across Labrador. We'll talk about that in the long range forecast coming up.
Thanks, Ashley. Well, staying in Labrador, our colleagues at CBC Labrador are hosting their annual turkey drive next Friday. And fun fact, Labrador morning host Rivu Rashid, who's originally from Bangladesh, had never seen a turkey in person before. So before the donations start rolling in, he broke out the CBC turkey costume and paid a visit to Shelley Cleary's Black Spruce Company. Have a look.
Oh, wait. It looks like a big chicken.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, this is this. Oh, I was wondering the whole time, you know?
Yeah?
When I put this on, I was
Yeah.
wondering, what is this?
Yeah.
Now I can see.
It's their neck.
Coming here, I thought they were scary. But now they don't seem to be scary.
I don't think they're scary. No. Oh! There you go.
Why did you decide to have turkeys in your chicken farm?
I wanted to have them because it's not something that's locally here unless you get it at the grocery store.
Mm-hmm.
And right now, a lot of families, we're not the only ones, but we're noticing the price of food is going up. But also that accessibility and being able to get birds in and whatnot is just very limiting. So why not have a couple of our own that we can breed out? And of course, selecting a natural heritage breed as opposed to a commercial breed, they will breed on their own. So if you're able to get them through and let them be able to have their own babies, then you're able to continue to produce food for yourself and your family.
But you can always invite me to the dinner, right?
Absolutely, absolutely, but only if you come in the costume. Yeah, you can have a feed a turkey and you have to wear the costume. That's the only clause, yeah.
I'm thinking of hosting the Turkey Drive show, having this costume on. What do you think?
I think that would be perfect. Yes. We can probably put a little harness on one of these guys so you can walk around. You'll have to go around with a bag of bread or something, though, because they like treats.
Well, if you have turkey or not at your place, you can always drop by Turkey at CBC's parking lot December the 8th from 7 to 8:30 in the morning. I'll be there. See ya.
As soon as you dial that, you'll reach someone with kindness on the other end who is there to listen to you.
And that, she says, is a good first step. A national suicide prevention hotline is now offering round-the-clock support, not just for those struggling, but for their loved ones, too. That's ahead.
Crippling grocery bills, unaffordable rent, gas tanks that are always half empty. We're in a cost of living crisis, and it's taking a toll on families, students, and average earners. Join us for a new series as we meet people in this province juggling multiple jobs to make ends meet, burning long hours just to cover the basics. The Grind airs Mondays on Here and Now.
A new 3-digit suicide prevention helpline has been launched across the country. People experiencing a mental health crisis can call or text 988, and they'll receive a response 24/7 free of charge. A woman from Paradise says resources like this are crucial. The CBC's Tashana Reid has more.
It's Canada's new 3-digit number.
988, a new number Ottawa says will be a lifeline for Canadians.
Canada's new 3-digit number for suicide prevention is up and running. Thank you.
Similar to 911, 988 connects people in crisis by text or phone to a live trained responder closest to them, available in English and French 24/7. Immediate support for people who are thinking about suicide or those worried about someone else. The operator will assess the individual's safety risk and take appropriate steps.
We all know that 988 will help save lives.
Each day in Canada, approximately 12 people die by suicide.
Materials that are going on to
Canada's largest mental health hospital is running the helpline.
We agree time is of essence, and that 3-digit number is going to make it much easier to get through.
The new crisis line brings together 39 local, provincial, territorial, and national partners, including Kids Help Phone, under one number.
People want to feel that they're getting support close to home, and they want to know that suicide prevention is there for them and those they love.
You should do XYZ if you
This nonprofit west of Toronto is one of the many community partners to join the 988 network.
Listen to their story, assess any risks that they might be feeling.
Leading up to the launch, they've been training and hiring additional staff.
How do we make it so that, they've left this interaction with, okay, I have some hope.
And one phone call can make a difference. In 2007, Tanya Joy attempted suicide. 12 years later, she lost her brother to it.
It just takes that hello or questions like, what matters to you, or what do you need today, to feel like, oh, I am worth it.
The team behind 988 will be monitoring demand and wait times and report directly to the Public Health Agency of Canada. Now they say the job is to raise awareness so Canadians know anytime, anywhere, help is just a phone call away. Tashana Reid, CBC News, Toronto.
As you just heard, Tanya Joy feels strongly about more suicide prevention supports and believes the new 988 hotline is a step in the right direction. The Paradise woman spoke with CBC about how she and her family have been impacted by suicide and the support she feels is still needed for those struggling and for their loved ones.
It was July of 2019 when our family lost my brother Jody to suicide. It was just a struggle how to, talk about it, how to feel, and then there was an abundance of emotions that came with it, from anger to torment, sadness, and then over time just finding ways to not sit in that. And so I began trail running and I met a great group of people, and most importantly, nature carried me through with the beginning phase of the grief. It's a really, really wonderful first step to start this, to have more resources available to the people. And it's reading about what the whole basis of this number is. It's about people who are probably struggling with suicidal ideations or feeling just in distress, maybe wondering if that's where their stress is going to lead to, and also for people who are living with people who do struggle. And it's just as important for them to know how to talk to and have those conversations with people, and how to ask it without the person who is struggling feeling that judgment. So I think it's a great first start. And I'm hoping that it will lead to other resources too that can be available to everybody. I think it's a great option, and I hope that with this line, the education is out there for people to read, that once you dial those 3 numbers, you're just going to reach somebody immediately. You're not going to have to like select other numbers or other lines to reach someone. As soon as you dial that, you'll reach someone with kindness on the other end who is there to listen to you. And that's the first step. In 2007, I attempted suicide, and I'm here, I lived. When I did do that, I was fortunate enough to feel safe to call somebody. And I know that's why I'm here, because this person intervened in the need they had to, and I'm here today. So, and I felt safe to call her. So I think this is really, really important, and I'm really happy to hear that this is taking place. Be patient with the journey. It's be accepting, find something that brings you joy, get educated, because there's so many different layers to suicide and mental health, and there's so many variations that fall under the mental health category. When I attempted, I was not suffering with any mental health issue at the time. I didn't think. Mine was circumstantial in the moment. So people need to understand that happens as well. I'm just happy that I can be here to share my story, my brother's story, my friendship stories. My partner has been my backbone through all of this. He met me at the most worst time of my life, but the strongest I was, but I didn't know. So I just hope that people use this line and realize the benefit that they will receive from it, because it just takes that hello, or questions like, what matters to you, or what do you need today, to feel like, oh, I am worth it. There is help, because this is going to be around forever. So it's now we need to start recognizing that and having the resources available. And we're going to need a lot more than this, but it is a really, really, really great start.
Well, staying with mental health, men's health was the topic today on CBC Radio's The Signal. Guest host Andrew Hawthorne spoke with Jody Williams with Bridges to Hope. Williams says one major hurdle he sees is the stigma, people feeling that men shouldn't talk about their emotions.
I think that the main thing that never brought up here, I just want to say because I think it's so important, is this notion of shame. Anyone that deals with addiction or has a mental health issue, if you're a man especially, you're going to have so much shame, and that's what perpetuates the cycle. So shame is, I'm a bad person, right? And you hold on to that belief. And guilt is, I did a bad thing, which is a healthy response to, you're going against your value system. And that's one thing I do teach in institutions, is to get these men to recognize that, you have to realize that, like, you're not a bad person. You might have done a bad thing, but that's different than having this shame, because the shame is what perpetuates the depression. It is what, because, I still get depressed, but what I don't do is get depressed about being depressed. I still get anxiety, but I don't get anxiety about having anxiety. And that's a huge difference.
Yeah, and you're dealing with people with real stressors. It's one thing, mental health affects everybody, but a lot of it, when you develop depression, when you develop anxiety, there is something real causing that is doing it. It's not just coming out of, sometimes it's chemicals, sometimes it's something you're dealing with, but a lot of these times these are precipitated, and you're dealing with categories of people dealing with incarceration, dealing with poverty, dealing with addiction.
Yeah, dealing with murderers and stuff, and people who are in extreme situations.
An extreme situation. How do you deal with somebody that has an extreme stressor that is contributing to this?
Sometimes I go into prison, I see a prisoner, their name's on a list. I might only see them once because they're moving on or whatever. I only have 20 minutes with this person. I have to try to make some kind of impact. The one question, I've got it down to one thing. At some point, I'll look them in the eye and I say, I care about your pain. Please share it with me. At that point, most men will break down and cry. Nobody has ever said to a man, I care about your pain.
Yeah.
Please share it with me. That is the most revolutionary, transformational thing that I offer people, is that one statement. And I've seen men change, bang, like that instantly. Because they cried in front of another man for the first time, and there was just healing in that one thing alone.
Incredible.
Mm-hmm.
All made by hand, made by junk. Junk, and I saw some, I saw them, and the only thing I buy is paint and glue.
Well, it may have started out as junk, but he turns it into treasure. Meet a man from Carbonear who says he throws nothing away. Most days you can find Heber McGurk in his Carbonear basement workshop. The 92-year-old is surrounded by model boats and cars and buildings, and he made them all himself.
This is my workshop. Top of the deep freeze, and my desk there, and that's it. I got little whirly jigs, little fellas sawing off wood, and little fellas chopping wood. This one here, I might turn that into a cobra or something. Put the face on here and that, and put a design on and stuff like that, and sharpen out his tail a little bit more, and then putting up on something. See, anything I see that I think I can turn into something, I can get and turn it into something. It's all made by hand, made by junk, and I saws it on my saw down there and cuts it out, and I never buys nothing. The only thing I buy is paint and glue, and that's all, and the rest is all carved by hand. I don't throw anything away. He hauls up here and hauls him back, lets him go, and he'll pick his way down over the pole. Take that bulb, that thing, color off, then take that out from inside, inside the bulb, and I'll put a bolt in that. A long while ago now since I started, and my day starts from 5 o'clock in the morning till 10 at night, and that's it. And I'm always at something.
Well, it's the first day of the latest COP28 climate conference in Dubai. Representatives from nearly 200 countries are attending the UN's annual climate talks, and Canada's delegation is the largest ever. The conference's president has urged countries to find common ground to achieve goals.
We know, as you know, the gravity of this moment. We feel, as you feel, the urgency of this work.
Delegates approved a new disaster fund to help poorer countries cope with extreme weather events. Developing nations have long sought to address inadequate funding for climate-driven catastrophes like flooding, extreme heat, and drought. A recent report from the UN says up to $380 billion will be needed annually to help. Well, a former hockey player who almost bled to death from a skate blade to the neck says every hockey league should make neck guards mandatory. Support for that idea has grown since American Adam Johnson was killed during a game in the UK last month. Jonathan Gatehouse looks at Kim Crouch's decades-long mission to keep all players safe. And a quick warning, the story does have some disturbing details.
You still got the scar, right?
Starts up here, goes right down to here.
The wound is faded with the decades, but not the memory. Kim Crouch was an 18-year-old goalie when a decision to play the puck almost cost him his life.
I raced out, 2 players jumped over me, and one of their skates caught me on the side of the neck, severed my carotid artery.
Crouch lost a third of his blood, but was saved by his team trainer. Hours of surgery repaired most of the damage, although his voice has never fully recovered. Within weeks, Crouch was back on the ice, wearing what's believed to be the very first hockey neck guard, designed by his father, Ed. Almost 50 years later, the colors remain the same, lightweight and inexpensive, which makes the reluctance to embrace them all the more frustrating.
Yeah, I think the leagues that are requiring neck protection now need to seriously look at making sure it is mandatory.
Adam Johnson's death during a pro game in the UK has highlighted the dangers posed by skate blades. 10 Canadian junior leagues have since announced neck guard requirements, while the NHL and the startup Professional Women's Hockey League are discussing mandates. Youth players up to 16 have worn neck guards for decades, which leaves just one big gap in the Canadian system: the hundreds of thousands of adults who play pickup or beer league hockey. But CBC News has learned that mandatory neck guards are on the way for many of them, too.
It's something that keeps us up at night for sure.
Joey St-Aubin runs the country's largest adult rec league, with 65,000 players across 4 provinces.
We don't have the patience for it anymore as a society. Things got to get done. We got to get it done.
For Crouch, it can't come soon enough. He keeps a scrapbook detailing his own near miss and the stories of other skate blade victims. His father died almost 15 years ago, having devoted decades to the family neck guard business and his dream of protecting players. What do you think your dad would make of the fact that this is still a debate?
He'd probably look at it and be disappointed, but he would always have to be proud of what he came up with and how many lives he did save.
Jonathan Gatehouse, CBC News, Whitby, Ontario.
The Mummers are planking her down at an annual Janny Jamboree. Watch a fabulously folksy festival, Sunday at 11:30 and Monday at 7.
Okay, well, Friday is this close. That means we're gonna find out how the weekend weather is looking. How is Saturday and Sunday looking?
Well, quiet for the most part. We are still looking at a little bit of weather, but no big systems to contend with, which will be nice. Let's take a look at what's going on as we head through your Friday evening and into Saturday. So that's that area of low pressure that's going to bring that shower activity. through. By the time we get into the morning, it should actually clear out. Some of us will be seeing some clear skies, particularly along the northeast coast, it looks like at this point. Now, we may see some lingering flurry activity or light snow along the coast of Labrador, but that should be about it, and potentially the long-range mountains there through the day on Saturday. But for the most part, it will be a quiet day, beautiful but cold up across Labrador. And we'll see a little bit of some shower activity potentially skirting the southern areas of the island. But overall, temperatures will be hovering around the 0-degree mark for the northern peninsula, between 3 and 5 degrees for the rest of the island, and then up across Labrador, like I said, some cold air moving in. Daytime highs topping out at -14 for Lab City. Otherwise, progressively warmer, especially as we head towards the coast, anywhere from about 0 to -1 through the day on Saturday. Now, as we head into Sunday, again, that area of low pressure staying south. Sunday actually looks pretty nice. We should see plenty of sunshine, maybe some increase in cloud as the day goes on. The winds will be more northerly, so we could see some flurries develop in onshore flow, especially along the northeast coast, and then up across the coast of Labrador as well. Otherwise, another quiet day for most of the big land. Temperatures, again, the cooler air starting to move a little bit further east. So Happy Valley, Goose Bay, it's your turn to see those temperatures into the minus double digits, staying into the minus single digits towards the coast, but daytime highs across the island hovering between 0 and about +2 for the eastern half of the island. The western half of the island should stay between 0 and about -2 as your daytime highs. Now, the long-range forecast showing temperatures staying pretty steady between 0 and +2 through the day. We'll likely see a few flurries on Sunday, but then by Monday, maybe a few peaks of sun, and then Tuesday, the chance of some showers in there. A little bit of disagreement on that at this point, but it does look like we'll see a bit of weather for your Tuesday. And then for central Newfoundland, nice and sunny on Monday. Tuesday, flurries or light snow will return with your temperature hovering around the 0-degree mark. Same thing for western Newfoundland, although you may see a bit more sunshine for your Tuesday. And then for eastern Labrador, that cool down on Tuesday will start to warm up, on Sunday will start to warm up as we head to Tuesday, back up to hover around the 0-degree mark, but it does look like some light snow. And then for western Labrador, your temperatures will warm up slightly by Tuesday, and you'll hover around -8. Now, our weather picture of the day, a beautiful winter wonderland in Torbay last night. I know it wasn't nearly as much snow that what was in the forecast, but it still made for a beautiful evening. And Robert shared this great shot with us. Thank you so much for that one. And if you have any weather photos that you would like to share with us, you can send them to my Facebook page or email them to nlphotos@cbc.ca.
Makes me want to bundle up and plop down into one of those chairs with a nice hot chocolate and just enjoy the lights and the snow.
I love that idea.
Lovely shot. Thank you so much for sharing that. Well, that's it for us on this Thursday evening. Thank you so much for spending part of your night with us.
Good night.